everyone, Stephen Lowisz here with GTM Secrets. Everything go-to-market, sales, marketing, rev ops, marketing ops, you name it. We've probably had someone on talking about it, from startup up to enterprise. Now, today I have Christy Banky from SMG. She has a very interesting background, lots of stats and whatnot that I want to talk about. But Christy, do you mind sharing a little bit of background on yourself?
Yeah. Well, you already said my name. So my name is Christy. I'm currently the Vice President of Marketing at SMG. I've been with SMG for 2.5 years. Absolutely love it. SMG serves the customer experience space. Before I worked at SMG, I was Vice President of Revenue Marketing at Omnigo, which is also a SaaS company. And prior to that, I was Director of Marketing Communications and Demand Gen at Rittal, which is a very large manufacturer headquartered in Germany.
So that's actually the first thing that stuck out to me, communications and demand gen. Now, normally those are quite opposite, right? It's like branding and demand gen. One's creative and fluffy, tons of value. I'm not diminishing it, but one's more creative, fluffy, whatever you want to call it. Fluffy probably has a bad connotation, so not the right word. And then demand gen is numbers, performance marketing, etc. Which side of the arena do you come from, and how do you balance both?
Yeah, that is a great question. I really started in demand gen and really understanding how data-driven marketing works. I had a boss who, the president of the company, didn't really believe in marketing. And I was their very first marketing hire. And on my first week, he said, "Hey, you're really going to have to prove to him that marketing needs to be here. We've always gotten our leads and our business from referral, just word of mouth. And so you're going to have to prove this." And the only way that I could think of how to prove it was to figure out how marketing impacted the bottom line. And so I had implemented HubSpot to help with that. This was way in the early days of HubSpot, before they even had a CRM, before they probably even thought about, before they had even thought about a CRM. This is when inbound marketing was big. So really used HubSpot as my tool to prove from lead source through the funnel to this is how we won the business. And marketing, it was either marketing sourced completely or marketing attributed, because this person was on our website and they engaged in this piece of content and they had all these things that they consumed from marketing along their journey. And so that's how that started. And then when I went to Rittal, the title of the role was marketing communications. Demand gen wasn't even a part of that at first. And when I got there, it really was like a little bit of you call it the fluffy stuff, right? It is the fluffy stuff and it's the fun stuff. And really before that, I was a very, very much a technical writer. I worked with a lot of the engineers writing case studies and testimonials and distilling it down so that way it made sense to our audience. So using that different part of your brain to make things light and fluffy, it really made our nurtures and our drip campaigns more relatable to our audience. As opposed to this hard engineering facts. And because I knew so much about demand gen, I started adding metrics to our marketing comms plan. And then things just started melding together. And it was, hey, can you do this? Can you do this? And one was setting up their first SDR presence. I did that while I was there. And setting up drip campaigns, nurture, sequences. This is now around the time when HubSpot started with their CRM and their sales starter pack. And so got our SDRs that I had just built into the sales starter with HubSpot and really monitoring that and looking at the metrics, and then started working with the digital marketing team and started working with our channel partners and the channel marketing team and just pulling all of it together. And then from there, it was just kind of for Rittal, it was just a natural progression of, okay, marketing comms and demand gen can fit together. You have the fluffy side and the comm side and like kind of the brand stuff. And then you've got demand gen, this hard like data and analytics and driving revenue piece. And it just, for me anyway, it just fit really well together. And for them, it fit really well together as well.
I love it. Now, you said something interesting, putting metrics on communication. So I think open rates, click-through rates, which Now, best practices typically don't even look at click-through rates because it hurts deliverability. Like, what kind of metrics were you putting in place?
Yeah, some of those metrics, so your open rates, your deliverability. But when I instituted with the SDR team, when I created that team, one of their metrics was reply rates. And in the sales starter, I don't know what they call it anymore. It might still be sales starter package. You were able to see what the reply rates were. So the big one, there was the click-throughs, opens. The big one, though, was the reply rates because we wanted people to respond back to the SDR team. And so that was a huge metric. And so if we could get people to respond, it meant, well, not only like the email was good, right? That the call to action on that email was good. And then we would just replicate that in other emails. And it started boosting our reply rates. At first, it was low, right? You'd 1-2%. We weren't sure. You're not quite sure what you're doing. And then as you start to see little things that start working, you just start adding those in and you start replicating that success. And at one point we had like a 40% reply rate on all of our emails, which was insane. Like that's insanely good.
What year was this?
Oh, it was right before COVID. And then during COVID.
So
before ChatGPT.
It's insane.
Yeah. It was insane.
Have you considered writing a book?
No. No, I did a lot of writing early in my career. I said I was a technical writer, and I feel like maybe I just wrote all of that out, all of my ability to write out. So.
Well, if you ever do, let me know. I'll be on the pre-order list.
Yeah.
So you're a mid-market company, right? According to LinkedIn, you've got about 500 employees, give or take.
Yep. It's about 350 employees. So 500 plus brands.
Got it. Now you target really small companies, I see.
We target, mid-market. We have some enterprise, but mid-market. And then we did have a stint where we testing like small companies, targeting small companies.
I was being 100% sarcastic.
Okay, good. I was like, well, we test it.
Yep, not the Bell, AMC, Krispy Kreme.
Yeah,
I was being very facetious. But with that, let's start here. Who is your ICP at those companies?
Yeah, so it's your head of customer experience. So we have a couple of different products. So it really depends on the product. So if we're looking at customer experience, it is your head of customer experience. If they don't have customer experience, that role can often sit in marketing. So your head of marketing or your head of operations. That's where you really have to get tactical and do your research and understand where it is. If we're looking at brand experience, we want to look at your head of insights, your head of market research, could also be head of marketing. Head of marketing gets in there a lot. Head of innovation. And if you're looking at employee experience, if we're looking to target those people, we're looking at wherever HR lies. So that could be in finance. Some companies have head of HR under your CFO, your head of HR, and it could also be your head of ops. So a couple of different targets, people in those industries.
To a certain extent, you and I target the same people being in marketing, right? Now, I'm not so much on the CX side. I'm more on the demand gen and life cycle analytics, etc. But let's pretend you're just narrowing this down to marketers.
Okay.
What are the best demand gen channels that you have found? And I'll preface that by saying LinkedIn ads, which we run, are stupid expensive these days. SEO is changing with LLMs and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, and no one knows how any of it works to rank with Gemini and whatnot. Not even Google employees can help. Talk to me a little bit about where you find the most success when it comes to demand gen targeting marketers who are targeted all day, every day by everyone and their brother, including me and you.
Yeah. So LinkedIn, you are right. LinkedIn ads are super expensive, but they can be effective if you're doing it in the right way, if your messaging is right. But to marketers in particular, I find that personalized LinkedIn messaging works. It cuts through the noise. You cannot start your email with, hey, I saw on your LinkedIn profile that da 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 da, and you can tell it's just Chat GPT. So there are it needs to be personalized. So that's the first one. I will always respond to someone who has taken the time. Like, yes, I know you've looked at my profile, but if you've taken the time to pull something else that out of my profile other than the very first bullet point, like, I'll talk to you, because, and there's a few language, like mimics, I'll call it, that Chat GPT does all the time that you can tell it's Chat GPT. So if you've taken the time to absolutely write to me, I don't care, like, if you use Chat GPT to make it sound a little bit better or to organize your thoughts, but if you keep in some of those dead giveaways from Chat GPT, I won't respond. The other piece of that is a good content piece. I will always respond if you send me some sort of value added content that isn't just read my blog. Like, if it's like benchmarks or industry insights, market research, like, I'm all about that. Go ahead and send that to me, and with a personalized message, and I will most likely respond. I know our job is hard, but you've got to take the time to be personalized.
Now, personalized can mean a lot of different things, right? So I'll give you the example. Clay is a big one. Are you familiar with it?
Clay? No.
So it does waterfall enrichment, and then it does a lot of, it helps automate with like GPT. So I can have it say, here's Christy, go scrape her LinkedIn profile. Here's what I do at Identity Matrix. Now tailor a cold email directly based on her profile. And the problem is, a lot of times it will resort to like, hey, I saw you graduated from Rutgers. I'm making that up.
Yeah.
Or, hey, I see that you run marketing at SMG. Well, no shit. That's very easy to spot and very easy to be automated. So give me an example if you can. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Don't try to wordsmith it. But if somebody pulled something out of your LinkedIn profile, what would it be that sparks your interest of like, hey, they actually did some legitimate research?
Yeah, they actually get where I'm working correctly. Or like, I love the ones that I get that say, congratulations on your new role at SMG. It's like, I've been here for 2.5 years. So that's always a dead giveaway. But there's a few things in my profile. For example, I've mentioned that my children are ice skaters, or that we hike a lot. We have 2 Bernese mountain dogs. And so if they mention those things that are personal outside of my job description, that to me, I'm like, they've obviously read it. Or if they mention any type of awards or recognition, because those are usually much lower on the profile. And so they've mentioned, hey, we saw that you won the 2020 Marketer of the Year from Empowering Women in Industry. Tell me about that, right? I'm like, okay, they've done their research.
I am the first one to applaud a good outreach. And in fact, I just signed a contract literally yesterday. Yeah, yesterday, with somebody who hit me up with cold outreach, and it was excellent. But I'm also the first one to tell you to go screw yourself. Entirely depends on the quality of your message. So I hear you. Now, getting back, and I kind of derailed us here, but
that's okay.
Best demand gen channels. You mentioned that you like a lot of cold outreach on LinkedIn. Is that what your SDRs and BDRs are doing? Are you paying for automated messages and in-mails via LinkedIn, et cetera? What does that setup look like?
Yeah, so it needs to be, the biggest one is it needs to be personalized. We do have a lot more success with LinkedIn personalized outreach than we do with cold outreach to their emails. I think it's just that the automated AI SDRs and ChatGPT has, I don't want to say it's ruined email cold outreach for SDRs, but I feel like it's a little much, right? I get hundreds of emails a day into my inbox. So LinkedIn for us seems to be a really good avenue. And then the other avenue that we've found a lot of success in is going to events where we have one-to-one meetings. So then we get before we sign up for an event, we make sure that the attendees match our ICP, and we will get a sponsorship, not a booth. We will do things like have our head of sales on stage for 5 minutes to introduce the keynote speaker, something that gets us in front of a larger audience. And then from there, they'll be able to talk to all of the attendees. Before that even happens, our SDRs are doing very targeted outreach to these businesses, to these attendees, to find out who's going to be there, to set up meetings at the event. And we'll reserve like a meeting room, or we'll sponsor a dinner where we can talk to these people. So these one-to-one meetings at industry-related events are really big for us right now. And I'm in a couple of networking groups for CMOs, and they're saying a lot of the same things, that it's these more event-related, like industry-related events where you're getting one-to-one, face-to-face interaction, because it absolutely does cut through the noise. And it's really difficult, I think, as an SDR to personalize a message, or to not personalize a message, I should say, if you're going to an event, because it's like, hey, we're going to be here. These are the people that we're going to be here. We're talking at this, we're talking on this stage at this time, or we're introducing this keynote speaker, and they're much more likely to respond because, as you know, it has to be personalized. It's not a templated piece that we're sending out.
Very fair. Now, do you do any paid media or paid search, anything?
We do. So we do your display ads. We also have 6 Sense, where we run display ads and ABM targeting. We have a couple of lists that are very segmented, very targeted, that we are hitting our target accounts with 6 Sense. So we do paid media.
I am curious, how do you like 6 Sense?
I like the concept of 6 Sense. I'm trying to be very diplomatic.
You don't have to be at all.
I do like the concept of 6 Sense. So I've used Demandbase in the past. I've used 6 Sense currently. And when I came to SMG, they had Terminus. So I've actually had experience with all 3 of the major platforms. And with 6 Sense, what I will say is, if your sales team is not aligned and you cannot get them on the platform as well to work the accounts the way that they should be worked, it will not work. Like you have to have complete alignment between marketing, SDR, and sales for this to work. Just absolutely complete alignment. The one thing that we struggle with is the understanding of really who at the organization has been clicking on our ads. We know who the organization is, right? We know the intent topics that they're looking up, but it's trying to get more granular. I don't know if that's a 6 Sense thing or a GDPR thing or what that is, if they're not converting on your ads, if they're just doing click-throughs, because some of your ads are meant for brand awareness. Some are meant for lead conversion. So we have 2 different sets. So it's not as granular as what I would like. And then getting our clients off those lists, right? Like sometimes our clients will show up and you're like, how do we keep them off of our list?
So, okay, fair enough. Now, here's my thoughts on ABM. Let me ask you this. How long is your typical sales cycle?
9 to 12 months. So we have a really long sales cycle.
What I have found is that if you have a 9 to 12 month sales cycle, intent data can be good. But if you have a 3 to 6 month sales cycle or shorter, it's completely useless, because by the time intent signals fire, they already found their solution. That makes sense for you.
Yeah, it absolutely does. So we do have a few one-offs where we'll get them in within 90 days, like from the start to close and closed one. And then the intent data, we use those lists quite a bit.
Got it. Okay. So that makes sense. Very helpful. Now, you have something key on your profile that interests me the most, which is you had I think 1 year was 300%, the next year was 450% increase in conversions. What the hell did you do to get B2B conversions up by 4.5 times?
Yeah, it was very segmented, very targeted content. So, and very value-driven content. And so that, I don't mean like, here are the 5 best practices. I am talking research reports. I'm talking insights. I'm talking like benchmarking. So when I say someone reaches out to me with benchmarking, like I'm going to convert on that. And so those were the topics that we used. I spent a lot of time talking with the sales team and really aligning with them and understanding the language that was being used in sales meetings. And if I could get a recording, I would watch the recording. And the reason I know some marketers are like, well, why didn't you do VOC, right? Like talk to them and talk to your clients. Yeah, you can do that. But then I feel like the language then that's being used is rehearsed, because a lot of time your clients want questions ahead of time. Like, what am I going to be talking about? I want to make sure that I know what you're saying. So to be able to see a raw video of a QBR or a demo and understand the language that they're using. So the messaging that you're putting out in your ads. And then I cannot understate enough that it wasn't like we just went to market with this messaging and it suddenly went, look at that. It was testing. So take little pieces of your language and test. And then anything that was under a certain score, I'd throw out. I'm like, this isn't. So you define your success metrics and you say, okay, I'm going to look at this. Our success metrics is going to be, and I'm just going to make something up. If we have a 76% click-through rate, I know that's crazy, but just pretend. So 76% click-through rate, anything that's underneath that, we're not gonna entertain. And then everything between 76 and 85, we're going to look at this and we're going to modify it. And then everything above that, we're going to replicate that. And so it's really defining what your success is and then testing at the front end. And so when you're ready to launch the bigger campaign, it skyrockets. And that's exactly what happened. And it's really just looking at the data. I can't stress that enough. Just look at the data, test, look at the data, refine, test, like keep doing that.
So let's talk about, conversion rate optimization on page. Do you use any A/B tools? Are you using a tool like Hotjar, Microsoft Clarity? What are those kind of metrics that you really look at? Like, is it how many pages, how far they scroll down the page? Like, I'm getting into really nitty gritty territory.
You are. So I personally like to see how long they've stayed on a page and how far they've scrolled down and if they've continued their journey. So I like to look at the whole customer journey, because you could have someone that clicks on a blog and they're stuck on that page and it's like, yes, like they were on the page for 3 minutes and so were like 20 other people. But really what might have happened is their dog needed to go outside to go to the bathroom, right? And so they need to get up from their computer and then they forgot about your blog. And so it just looked like they were on there for a really long time. So I do like to look at the length of time they're on there, but if they're scrolling, and then from there, where else did they go? Did they click in any other links or did they back out of it? If they clicked on the links inside, like especially at the bottom of the blog or inside the blog, then I know that they're looking and they're reading. And so that's something that must be interesting to them. It must be working. And then you try to find that pattern with other people. So you can't just look at one, you've got to look at everybody.
You just block it so it only works on US visitors?
Yeah, I think so. I believe you can. But I will say this. So we are building a new website. And so we need to understand how people are on our current website. So right now, yeah, we absolutely have that on there.
I know even with us, it's only legal to de-anonymize web visitors in the US. So if we see the IP is coming from outside the US, we don't even store it. We just toss it. Pretty sure you could do the same thing using Google Tag Manager.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good feedback.
So here's my last kind of topic. Say last question, but I'd probably lie. When it comes to go-to-market strategy, you're in a 9 to 12 month sales cycle. So are many others. I'm at about 1 to 3 months. I'm actually pretty sure. But I've been in the long sales cycles, and revenue is obviously a lagging indicator of how it's working. What are those KPIs that you look at to say our GTM is working, or no, we need to change something?
Yeah, I love this question because we just instituted this about 6 months ago to help us understand. For me, one of the biggest things, and also for sales, one of the biggest things is understanding what is coming in that matches your ICP. So we have typical lead scoring and we have account scoring. So we have two different scores. So you have for a person and for an account and how they're trending. And that's what Sixth Sense does help with the account scoring. That's where we have our scoring in. But then we also have a second score on all leads and accounts that say, hey, does this account match the ICP that we have worked with sales on and agreed to on your ICP? So we have 4 scores. You have an A and a B. And for us, A's and B's, your A's are your target account list that your sales are like, these are our target accounts, right? And so if they come in as an A, sales will spend their time with the A's. If they come in as a B, it means that they match everything outside of the target account. So they'll match the industry, they'll match the revenue that we're looking for, the number of employees that we're looking at, where we can serve the most. And so then your sales team is spending the majority of their time on the prospects and the accounts that will hopefully fill your pipeline, right? That have the most value. And then from there, you have C's and D's. D's don't match, so they can ignore those. And C's, usually when a C comes in, it's because they don't match our industry, but they might match the revenue base that we're looking for. And so it's up to sales to go after those. That to me is a good indicator of one, if we're hitting the right people. This also gets rid of the dreaded marketing doesn't bring in any leads that match our ICP. So because you can say, well, 70% or 80% of the accounts that were brought in or leads that were brought in November matched our ICP. The second indicator that I like to look at is sales accepted accounts or sales accepted leads. Like, are they accepting them? And then if they're accepting them, how quickly is that person going to demo? So it's the lead velocity from that sales accepted to demo. That to me is a really good indicator that they are hungry. This person is hungry. If it took 10 days from the time that we generated interest to them getting a demo because of our long sales cycle, to me, that's a really good indicator that we're hitting the right people. If it takes, 6 months, that's not interested. We're not hitting the right person. So it's that those top of funnel metrics, because again, the sales cycle is so long. And then from there, you just look at the conversion. You're just watching how are they converting and how fast are they converting through the funnel at each sales stage. So
makes sense. For sure. And I think coming up with specific benchmarks for demo to needs evaluation or whatever you want to call it, evaluation to POC, et cetera, coming up with those key benchmarks.
Yeah, we just talked about, so we're like everyone else, we're just wrapping up our 2025 planning. We just wrapped up what we were going to accomplish. And then yesterday talked about what the metrics were going to be going into 2025. And we talked about, what is that sales accepted? What does the conversion look like? What do we want it to be at each stage of the pipeline as they move on? And then what does that lead velocity look like? What does it mean to be successful?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Here's my final question.
I thought the last one was your final.
Yeah. Very common. Last question, promise. What do you see changing, or what are you putting extra emphasis or new emphasis on in 25?
For us, that's a really great question. So for us, we are putting more emphasis on the value content. So just a much bigger emphasis on research reports and instead of having a research report come out every other week. I'm just going to use that as an example. We are going to really double down on here are the 3 to 5 big pillar pieces, and we're going to create our campaigns around those pieces. We don't want to focus on too many things all at once because that creates whiplash in your team, and that whiplash at some point will your external audience will start to feel that. And so we really want to keep it simple. We want to focus on 3 to 5 things, 3 to 5 pillar pieces, and create those campaigns surrounding those pieces. And so that's what we'll be doing. And if I had to pick another one, we really are continuing to focus on those industry events, those industry associations, those conferences, and getting in front of the right people, because people are tired of being behind a computer and doing things virtually. And more people are attending events. More and more people want to go to industry conferences. And so us using that as a tool as well is really big going into next year.
I'm freaking tired of Zoom. Zoom fatigue is real. I have today's a very light day, and I have 4.5 hours of Zoom calls.
Oh my goodness. I've already had 2 hours of Zoom calls, and then I have this one, and then right after I have another 1.5 hour meeting on Zoom as well.
Now, when I'm in a business setting, I can be extroverted. I can force it. But by the time I get home, and my introversion just skyrockets. My wife knows, give me 20 minutes. My 3-year-old doesn't understand that, but my wife does.
That's good.
It's awesome. Christy, this is incredible. Thank you so much. I really appreciate having you on. Would love to have you in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. You just let me know time and day, and I will be there. This has been a lot of fun.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.